Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So scroll on down. First fight we have in the women's strawweight division, we got Pierre Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes II. So this is a rematch. Last time Rodriguez won a split decision. I think Rodriguez wins again. Probably split again. Maybe rinse repeat, same in the last fight. But all in all, I really don't care, to be honest, about this one. But yeah. I think they're still roughly the same fighters. Sam Hughes has beaten a couple strikers recently and people with bad cardio. I think Rodriguez has decent enough cardio. I think her cardio is a bit of a weakness, but it's not like, a noticeable, like obvious crutch in her game. So yeah, Pierre Rodriguez is bigger, stronger, the more rounded grappler. Sam Hughes is tough and scrappy, but I think Rodriguez will be able to win the takedown battle yet again. Get more takedowns, get more control time, win the positional battle, and beat Sam Hughes yet again. Yet another close fight. Is the first fight, but Rodriguez probably winning a little bit more clear this time. That's all I see. So, but yeah, low confidence, Pierre Rodriguez. And yeah, I have no great confidence or no great investment. Maybe decision. Really, that's probably the lock pick of this one decision. I don't see no one getting finished in this fight. But yeah, low confidence pick. I really steer away from this run. As far as trying to pick a money line here, I just go if you are maybe looking to this decision. But then again, that's probably like minus 500. So. All in all, the matchup I really don't care too much about. But anyway, in this one, I have Pierre Rodriguez via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Elijah Smith versus Su Young Yu. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Elijah Smith to beat Su Young Yu. Yeah, this is a very, very tough matchup for Elijah Smith. Su Young Yu is a very well-rounded, very experienced, very tough competitor. And Elijah Smith has not particularly wowed me in any of his fights. I feel like the last fight's been closer than it should be. But hey, he's a young development fighter, and now he's going in my opinion, this is the best guy he has fought, like, period, in his career. And in my honest opinion, I think Su Young Yu is the best guy he has fought in his career by far. And I have not even liked how he looked against some of the guys the other guys he's fought. Felt like a lot of, Elijah Smith's a solid young guy, and I think this is a fight that, I don't know where I'm going to go with this one, but if he is able to go out there and look amazing in this one, this could say some great things for his future perspectives in the sport. If he goes out there and look amazing here, or it looks real clean, but I feel like it's gonna be like a real ugly performance. It's not gonna be a pretty fight. It's gonna be rough for him, but I think he can edge it out. I think he can eke it out with some takedowns here and there. I think probably early on he might be the quicker, smoother striker, but I feel like Su Young Yu, as the fight goes on, it's gonna start to shift more to him. But I feel like Elijah Smith will get off to a good early start, or a good enough early start, and maybe keep it competitive enough, maybe get a little takedown in the third round or something to, this, again, I feel like the split decision fight is like, it's going to be a lot of different ways to view this fight, but I think Smith is just going to do just enough. It's going to be one of those type of fights where, again, very competitive in every single facet of the sport, of the sport of the fight. Going to be some grappling, going to be some scrambles, going to be some positions, going to be some submission attempts. There'll be some strikes landing, probably maybe some drops in this one as well on both sides. But Smith joined just enough to eke by and get past Su Young Yu. And I think, win or lose, I think he'll be better for a young fighter going here with a very skilled fighter, the best guy he has fought in my opinion, by far. And I think he gets by, ekes by this one. So in this one, I have Elijah Smith via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, we got Mesquita versus Montserrat Rendon. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Mesquita to beat Montserrat Rendon. Yeah, Rendon's a well-rounded enough fighter, but not special particularly in any area. Mesquita has shown the improvements in her striking, and obviously has a huge gap in between that grappling. Mesquita is a BJJ legend. And I think she'll be able to mix it up, break Rendon down, and I think she submits her in the second round. So in this one, I got Mesquita via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Luan Lacerda versus Sousa. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Sousa to beat Luan Lacerda. Luan Lacerda is a solid fighter, well-rounded, scrappy, experienced. But I don't think he has the necessary stats particularly. Still low confidence. Like, he definitely could win this one. But I'm saying as far as me leaning this Sousa, I just feel like, in my opinion, I don't feel like he has the necessary stat points in the right areas enough. Like, maybe your grappling could be strong, your wrestling could be better, offensively and defensively. Maybe like 15 points in both. Like, wrestling offense, wrestling defense. to make it like a video game. That could be a little bit better in both of those categories. If he was to maybe have a grappling approach to victory here. Maybe his striking could be a lot sharper. His boxing could be like 20 points better. His power could be 5 points, 10 points better. I don't know why I decided to turn it into a video game, but I did. But either way, I feel like his points could be a little bit better. I feel like he's too well-rounded and not necessarily too strong in any area that I feel like he can, use it as advantage to beat Sosa. I feel like Sousa is a well-rounded fighter. So I can see Sousa was just a striker and he had no grappling. Sousa could grapple as well. I would say Lacerda should have an advantage. They should have an advantage there. But I don't think it's such a usable advantage. I think Sousa could address the grappling. Lacerda address his takedowns. Maybe even score more takedowns on this fight. Maybe. But I think more so it comes down to Sousa being the better striker here. Being able to address the grappling. Limit Lacerda's takedown. Limit Lacerda's control if there is any. If he just be the sharper striker. And I think Lacerda being as skilled and as scrappy as he is, I think he'll be able to make it the distance. But I think Sousa will be able to address his takedowns, his grappling, and just outstrike him to a decision here. So, in this one, I have Hector Sousa via, let me get that right. Hector Sousa via decision. So, in this one, Hector Sousa via decision. Now, to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Balaji Oki versus Manuel Sousa. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Manuel Sousa to beat Balaji Oki. Yeah, I'm going to be cut and dry. Balaji Oki is an amazing talent. He has shown great flashes of somewhat brilliance at points in his career. But in his last two fights, he just showed a spark on the pan and then just sizzled out. Come out hurting his opponent looking like, about to world beat them, and it's like a world beater for some little moments, and then faded bad and got finished. Really, his last two fights are, I think one fight he was looking good, and then he shot for a takedown and got put to sleep via submission. The other one, he was rocking his opponent, and then his opponent toughed it through, kept walking down, and then, finished him. By the way, he got finished bad in his last two fights. And he has shown, again, he does have that athleticism. He does have that power. He does have some pretty good technique. But is he mentally tough? Is he durable? Is he physically tough? As far as when it's coming back at him, we don't know too much. But going in with Manuel Sousa, a guy who's, an athletically gifted fighter himself as well. He has shown far more toughness than Oki has fought, I think, in my opinion, more high-level fighters than Oki has. And, I don't feel like Oki has yet really beaten a high-level fighter as far as an MMA. A high-level MMA fighter yet. But, the main thing to cut it dry, not try to already yap too much about this one to get to the point. They both could bring it. They both could look good in the first round. But I think Sousa could look good in the second round and third round. And more importantly than who could look good in rounds, I think Oki has looked good through 15 minutes before. And, I think his 2 UFC victories. But Oki has not been in a fight where he has faced adversity, like real adversity, and had to rally. We've seen Sousa on the Contender Series. He was losing that fight, and he had to come back and get a finish. I have not seen that from Oki. So we know Sousa can look good when he's looking good, and we know Sousa could pull it off when it's not pretty. We have not seen Oki battle through adversity to win yet, and that's always a big indicator for me. So I got to go Manuel Sousa here. He actually has a win over Mauricio Ruffy and knocking Ruffy out prior to the UFC. He has experience facing adversity, and So I can see a fight where it's pretty good competitive scrap through one, and I can see Oki having success. But ultimately, I feel like once Sousa starts having success, starts to hurt Oki, we start to see Oki mentally check out again, or maybe he just physically can't take what's coming back at him. And ultimately, I see like a late second round TKO for Manuel Sousa. I feel that both first round will be pretty competitive, but as fight goes on, Manuel Sousa is going to build, and Oki's going to start to decline, and Sousa's going to see that. He's going to capitalize, and he's going to be able to put him away in the second round. So in this one, I got Manuel Sousa via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Chris Curtis versus Miktabek Orolbai. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Chris Curtis to beat Miktabek Orolbai. Cry about it if you want. If he wins, he wins. If he wins, y'all so high on Kandabek Orolbai, be high on him. He's not going very far in the sport. Orolbai is, so it is what it is. There's no real need to be like, oh, Orolbai is this, Orolbai that. Orolbai is a nut-hugging haymaker thrower. Low-level fighter, in my opinion. He's in the UFC, but in my opinion, a low-level fighter with a low ceiling. Chris Curtis is a live dog here. Chris Curtis has pretty solid takedown defense. He could get up pretty well. He's hard to put away. You know, he wasn't a big middleweight to begin with. He started his career at welterweight, so at this weight class, it's not going to be like, oh, his chin is so effective. This is so effective that. It is not like Orolbai, this guy that really puts his shots together so well. Like Orolbai, you know, he's strong and physical, wants to take you down or hold you down. Chris Curtis dealing with middleweights. I think he could deal well with Orolbai, you know, trying to go that approach and he could address the grappling. On the feet, Chris Curtis is a much sharper striker, you know, much better defense. Maybe even be able to pull up upset and knock out Orolbai. But I say decision. I think he'll be able to address the grappling pretty well and then be the sharper, cleaner, more economical striker out there and take advantage of Orolbai that's looking for these big shots. Pop his head back with a jab early and often. You know, walk Orolbai in the counters. Maybe even shoot a takedown of his own in there. Just, you know, keep Orolbai guessing it. And it's also not like Orolbai is even a high-intensity fighter. Orolbai, you know, he will look to take you down and maybe pound, maybe submit you, which I don't really feel like he'll have great success against Chris Curtis. So let me slow down. I don't feel like he'll have great success with that against Chris Curtis. And then, on the feet, it's not like he's out there, you know, so busy doing 50, 60 strikes around. Like, Orolbai is a low output, as far as striking, he's a low output striker looking for big one-hit quitters. That's what he's looking for. So, a guy with Chris Curtis who has sharp defense, I think he should be able to see these, should be able to defend these pretty well. And, again, be able to outstrike Orolbai to a decision. So, in this one, I got Chris Curtis via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Brad Tavares versus Eryk Anders. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'll go low confidence Brad Tavares to beat Eryk Anders. Yeah, Eryk Anders has a puncher chance, but other than that, I think Brad Tavares is a better overall fighter. Should be able to stuff the takedowns relatively easily. Should be able to even score some takedowns if that's what you want to do. You know, longer, sharper, more technical. Again, Anders more so. You pick Anders, you just kind of pick in a puncher chance. He's not going to out-wrestle Tavares. Not going to have great wrestle success, if any, at all. No defeat Tavares probably just be sharp, sticking with the jab, working with better combinations, attacking it with leg kicks. And Eryk Anders just struggling to find these big shots that he's looking for and not really able to find them or not able to find them consistently to either get a finish or, you know, make it matter to get him a decision. Like, it'll matter, but not enough to get him a decision is what I'm saying. I just feel like Brad Tavares is just going to, again, address the takedowns if that's what Eryk Anders will do. On the feet, Eryk Anders just be too predictable and a little bit too slow. And Tavares is going to be beat him to the punch, beat him to the kick, beat him to the strike. And Tavares has so much experience. You know, he'll do a good job of just, you know, figuring Anders out and just taking away his few weapons. He only got like 2 weapons on the feet. So take away those 2 weapons and beat him by decision. So in this one, I got Brad Tavares via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Bruno Silva versus Charles Johnson. And how do I feel about this one? I'll go low confidence Charles Johnson to beat Bruno Silva. Oh yeah, Bruno Silva is extremely live here. This should be a pick 'em, to be honest. I know people probably look at it and forget, and even I at some points forgot. Early on, I kind of forgot a little bit. It was never gonna be no average or high confidence. It always should be low, but it's really a very, very close fight. Matter of fact, Bruno Silva Loki should be the favorite here, to be honest, because he's coming off a win. Charles Johnson coming off an embarrassing loss. He does have these great wins over Van and Kavanaugh, which are looking amazing right now. But just because they're looking amazing don't mean that you're looking amazing. That's the same you can say about Michael Johnson his whole career. You can say about this guy, that guy. So the guys you beat are looking amazing, but you are not. You look amazing against them, but you can never put it together. But yeah. But yeah, Bruno Silva came up a performance where he had a lot of grappling success. And even look at his losses. He lost to Joshua Van, who's the champion. He lost to Manel Kopp, who could be fighting for the belt next. And Manel Kopp, these guys have not had a history of so much getting laid on like Johnson. Johnson had so many fights we got laid on by this guy and that guy. Johnson's such a disappointment in a lot of ways. So, yeah, Bruno Silva could possibly mix that in and grind him out with takedowns. Bruno Silva has heavy hands as well. Johnson is coming off a knockout loss. Bruno Silva definitely got some heat in his hands. His technique is very underrated on the feet. And I could definitely see him clipping Johnson, knocking Johnson out, clubbing, subbing Johnson, decision Johnson. Where I feel like Johnson, his main path to victory here is a decision. And it's not like Johnson's such a volume fighter. He's a slow starter. When you look at people that stop Silva, like, yes, Van stopped and made Mav. Johnson beat Van beat Silva. But Johnson's not a guy that's going to be out there doing so much volume in your face constantly like Kopp and Van are pressure volume strikers. Kopp is pressure volume and he got power too, but Van's more pressure volume. Not as much, like, really not a power puncher. But those guys are in your face. You know, if you allow them to, they'll throw 100+ strikes a fight. Johnson, he might throw 100+ strikes on a 5-round fight, but he's not gonna do that in 3 rounds. And again, he's not that consistent pressuring fighter, that consistent volume fighter. So I feel like Johnson's only path to victory here. Well, his only clear path to victory is decision. So I'm talking trash, even though I'm picking him. But yeah, I got Johnson. I want him to win. I'm picking him to win. I think this is one of his good bounce back fights. Well, not a good, but maybe when he kind of like icky close, maybe split decision, bounce back type fights for Johnson. He probably will get to take it down. He probably will get control. Probably like 5-6 minutes of this fight, maybe 7 minutes. But he'll probably be the more cleaner, consistent striker on the feet. And maybe as the fight goes on, Johnson does have great cardio. Not to say that Silva has bad cardio, but Johnson is known for his cardio. He's known for being really a 5-round fighter type fighter, but he's been stuck in 3-round fights. And might even score some takedowns late in the fight. Himself is, Silva starts to fade a little bit, but more consistent thing will be that Johnson will be the more consistent, clean striker. Silva doing well, probably land some power shots here and there, maybe more power shots, probably scoring more takedowns, having more control time, but Johnson landing maybe like 15, 20 more strikes. And the fighter that, looks better over the course of the 15 minutes in the second and the third, and that being enough to win him the decision, probably like a split decision type fight. So in this one, I got Charles Johnson via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Vitor Petrino versus Steven Asplund. And now my mic, I said my mic, keep my mouse, not my mic. But yeah, low confidence Vitor Petrino to be Asplund. Gonna be cut and dry, cut to the point. Steven Asplund, puncher's chance, but not much else in that. Like, I mean, he's very live. That's a very good puncher chance. So that's what my confidence is low. It's a very good puncher's chance. But as a lot of people were saying on Twitter, and what they came with name, I obviously seen what I don't know where I'm going. I'm yapping. But yeah, Asplund, we don't really know where he's grappling at. Last we seen it looked terrible. He's had the privilege to be at this fight really guys that are strikers and pretty low level at that. And he looked good against those guys, but we have not really seen him tested in grappling. And I think last time he got submitted wasn't too long ago, and that was by a guy that's not UFC level. It looked pretty bad against him. And then I think to say one of the other fights he won, he was getting close to stop several times, and he showed very low, like white belt level, maybe no belt level BJJ skills and BJJ reactionary tendencies. Vitor Petrino could strike, he could grapple. Asplund just kind of hoping to capitalize on the lack of chin from Petrino, but yeah, I feel like he'll be better, as far as his, he'll be improved. I'm not saying better because he's not better than Petrino in the grappling. I'll say he'll be more improved as far as from what we've seen in the past from Asplund in the grappling part, but I don't think it's going to be a big enough improvement. And it's also not like Petrino is just some scrub. Petrino, he can make the adjustments. He's improving as well. And yeah, but I'll say second round submission for Petrino. I think he'll fight a smart fight on the feet. I don't think he'll be too much trying to, make some statement on the feet. I think he'll mix it up just to get the respect Asplund. And Asplund definitely got to respect the striker Petrino. Petrino could definitely shut Asplund's lights out. He could definitely beat him pure striking, in my opinion. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't lean so much to that. It wouldn't be the smartest route, but I definitely think, Petrino could beat him in pure striking. I think striking is pretty competitive, like pretty even enough. And but the grappling, Petrino without doubt dominates him in the grappling department. So if it is a grappling match, so Petrino's the more rounded fighter, the more tested fighter. I think he fights a smart fight, mixing the striking, get the respect, mixing the takedown. Wears him down in the first round, rinse, repeat, takes him back down in the second round, and then some ground and pound transitions, pepper him up a little more, transition sets him up, then submits him in the second round. So in this one, I have Vitor Petrino via second round submission. All right, now to our next fight. We have in the featherweight division, we got Marwan Rahiki versus Harry Hardwick. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Marwan Rahiki to beat Harry Hardwick. Yeah, Marwan Rahiki has a much, much higher ceiling. I think he's a much better overall fighter. But Harry Hardwick is experienced. He is tough. He is scrappy. That's about it. Not much of a talent, but he does have a lot of hard work. He is very experienced and somewhat accomplished in the European scene. But Rahiki, much higher ceiling, much better fighter. But yeah, that experience does, lead me to not give no average or high confidence. Again, Rahiki's still a very much young developing fighter. But yeah, I say decision here. I think he'll do a good job of mixing it up. Hardwick will be tough. He'll stay in the fight. He'll make a fight of it. But Rahiki would be much faster, much sharper, much more technical. And just picking apart Hardwick, of course, fight. But Hardwick, he's going to make it a tough, scrappy fight. Hardwick's not going to just lay down. He's going to make it a tough, scrappy fight. But again, Rahiki just going to be much more technical, much more skilled, much more athletic, much more gifted. And I think he beats him to a decision. So in this one, I got Marwan Rahiki via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Andre Fili versus Jose Delgado. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Jose Delgado to beat Andre Fili. Yeah, so Fili's always that guy that's no, he's still got enough left in the tank, and he's always that guy that is live for an upset victory. So I can't sleep with him. And it's not like Delgado is like this guy that's really in his second gear, third gear. Like, oh, this guy's on a 5-fight winning streak. He's like 2-3 years into the UFC. He's been winning these fights. Like, he's gonna be Fili. He's not yet there. He's not on that gear. So that's why the fight's it's still in that range where, this is a tough matchup. It's not a guarantee, or it's not a near guarantee. It's not a guarantee nor a near guarantee. It's a matchup. He's still in here, got to prove himself and get the laps and get the reps in. So he should win this fight, but I'm not putting no great confidence in it, is what I'm saying. But yeah, it's not like Fili has consistently great wrestling. I think Delgado should be able to address the wrestling. Defeat Delgado will be the more lethal striker. I think consistently the heavier-handed striker, and more versatile. And I think he'll be busier. I think he'll throw harder, be more consistent, land heavier, dictate the pace of this fight in the striking. And I think he beats Fili to a decision. But Fili will be game. He'll be scrappy. He'll mix it up. He'll make it a scrap of it. But I just think Delgado will, again, be throwing more, and landing harder, landing more significant strikes, throwing more total strikes, more significant, throwing more, landing more in general, and beating Fili here by decision. So in this one, I have Jose Delgado via decision. Now to the next fight we have in the light heavyweight division, we got Omar Sy versus Iwan Cutelaba. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Omar Sy to beat Iwan Cutelaba. Yeah, Cutelaba is very much game here. I feel like they match up pretty evenly. They're kind of really similar fighters, broadly speaking. They're both guys that are grapplers first. You have seen a bit of striking, especially because Cutelaba has been around so long now. You have seen a lot more striking from him. I'm not saying I guess you have seen more striking from him than grappling. We have seen fights where he has, definitely shown his grappling for sure. We have seen those fights where he's shown grappling, but more so for Cutelaba, you see a guy that kind of coming forward, chin in the air, swinging, but his background is grappling, and we have seen fights where he has shown that. But yeah, but at the core, both guys, again, grapplers first, striker second. Cutelaba's more been around, so you have seen him just resort to the striking more often than not. But yeah, I think that's gonna make this a competitive scrap, very competitive scrap, given how broadly speaking they're very similar fighters. And Cutelaba is more experienced. But I think Omar Sy's bigger, he's younger, he's probably stronger. And I do think he has a higher fight IQ. I feel like Cutelaba can fight pretty low IQ a lot of times. So Cutelaba probably come out there looking to swing big shots. So Omar Sy probably playing the distance a little bit. So it's not gonna be like the Menifil fight where Menifil's kind of just, has big bombs waiting, and then see kind of this tentative. It's gonna be like Cutelaba's not gonna really play no chess here. He's not gonna play chess. He's not gonna play checkers. He's gonna be out there trying to engage. He's going to try to swing for your chin, look for big shots, and try to lock up, get takedowns. So it's gonna be a pretty straightforward fight. So Omar Sy should be able to, fight long, throw a lot of kicks out there, and have Cutelaba, benefit from Cutelaba being aggressive and really not without a game plan. It's coming forward, swinging, so it could make Omar Sy look a little bit better than he is in the striking. Throw a lot of kicks, maybe start to stick a little jab out there because Cutelaba just come out there not throwing a jab, just swinging hooks mostly. And then yeah, Cutelaba trying to lock up with him, but Omar Sy may have been able to turn him, score some takedowns. But again, a very low significant output as far as actually landing shots, but seems probably just a little bit busier on the feet and a higher connect percentage on the feet. More of a game plan, and then they score takedowns and just edge him ever so slightly here. But a tough fight for Sy, very tough fight for Sy at this point in his career. But I think he gets past it and gets a decision victory here. So in this one, I have Omar Sy via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the women's strawweight division. We got Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Amanda Lemos to beat Jillian Robertson. Lemos is the more rounded fighter. And I still think she got a lot left in her tank. And I'm not too high on Rob. I think she's a solid fighter, but I don't really give her a very high ceiling. I think this is where her ceiling is right here in this fight. She could possibly get past it, but it's either here, like beneath Lemos, or right here, but not much further if it goes above there. I think that's where she kind of that's where her train stops. Yeah, I think Lemos can address the grappling enough. On the feet, Lemos is clearly miles and miles the better striker. we can't act like Lemos is just some striker with no grappling. Lemos can grapple. She can submit you all types of ways. She's probably physically the stronger woman here. Probably. Definitely the more tested. Definitely the more tough fighter. Definitely the more accomplished fighter. And also definitely the older fighter as well. That's a concern. Like, say 38 years old. So she's about like 8 years older. Maybe more. Yeah, 8 years older. And but I think Lemos will be addressed to grappling enough. Maybe even have success her own grappling as far as potentially. But what I see is like a club and stuff. I think she'll be able to address the grappling. Have Robertson diving for ankles. Start hammer fisting her, like, you know, touch her some shots, or at least get the presence shots. Then Robertson start diving heavy for a single. Lemos able to sprawl a little bit, drop some ground and pound on her. Robertson curling up, you know, then Lemos disengaging. Robertson back to her feet, crack with some shots. You know, really just break Robertson down over the course of the fight. Just have her panic wrestling and shooting for shots from a mile away, eating shots, punches, and just starting to wilt. Then in the second round, Lemos really starts to engage, digs into her, hurts her, drops her in the second round, follows her to the mat, and submits her in the second round. So, in this one, I have Amanda Lemos via second round submission. Now to our main event, we have in the featherweight division, we got Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence Kevin Vallejos to beat Josh Emmett. Yeah, I think Vallejos should be the dress of wrestling of Emmett in 5 rounds a lot of time. Emmett's very predictable in the feet. I just think, yeah, first round will be some bit of respect there. But once Vallejos starts to make Emmett miss and starts to counter him, you know, hurt him, and, you know, gets a beat of him, like, in the field for what he's doing, you know, he already knows what he's doing. Like, Emmett hasn't really made much changes in his career. He's always looking for big shots. He's telegraphs this, makes it very obvious. And then Vallejos will be able to, you know, exploit that. And also, once he really gets the timing and feel for it, you know, already seeing it in plenty of fights and plenty of tape, he's seen what Emmett does. But now, you know, getting a little bit of time, a couple minutes, maybe a round in to, you know, feel it in person. Like, oh, this is what he's looking for, the timing, the range. You know, see how similar it is to what he saw in tape. Oh, yeah, it's the same exact little level change, the same exact little reads, the little signs he gives before he does this and does that. Then all of a sudden, Vallejos starts to really unload and start to really get comfortable, making him miss, counter him, put him on the back foot, chewing him up, break him down. And we might have a limited success with the wrestling, but ultimately Vallejos going to stay calm, composed, get back to his feet, pick him apart, put him on the back foot, break him down. And this really started to chew him up with each and every round, probably chopping his leg up, slamming him with high kicks up top, ripping him to the body, you know, get him to throw strikes and then get off balance and then fire back with multiple, like with combinations, and just really breaking Emmett down. And then I see him stopping Emmett in the third round via TKO. So in this one, I got Kevin Vallejos via third round TKO. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Vallejos. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.